Something on my shelf saved the coffee that I gave up on. I don't know if it was the gear or time. I've been talking about this particular coffee for a while. It's an Ethiopian white honey processed coffee. It has similar traits that you would think that you would get from an Ethiopian coffee. Nice, bright acidity, lemony type of flavor. And I don't know if it's me or my palate or whatever, but it's a one-hit wonder. It's one-dimensional. Little chocolate notes on the end. Soft acidity, like a Meyer lemon type of taste on it. But I did something that I haven't done in a long time with this particular coffee. I didn't move back and back to different coffees. I just stayed with this particular coffee for 2 weeks. I drank it so many different ways, different temperatures, different brewers, different experiments. Most of the time, they tasted exactly the same. Variations in between here and there. But at the end of the day, it was the same. I had nothing to lose on this coffee. So I got a new brewer, which we'll talk about in the next couple of days. And something about the bottom, changing the bottoms and stuff like that of this particular brewer. If you know what I'm talking about, you already know. But it turned the coffee upside down. It was more lively. It filled in those hollow parts of the coffee that I wasn't too fond of. It actually made the coffee a little bit more fruity compared to its just lemony characteristics. So I kept trying this device. And then I started playing around with the Sybaris Booster. And then I started playing around with the Melodrip, the thing that I've talked really bad about the past couple of weeks. And the coffees were so expressive, so lively, that I wonder what the hell I was drinking. I didn't realize that this was the exact same coffee. And it got me thinking, was it me? Was it just time for the coffee to get that type of maturity that coffees tend to get at times? Sometimes it just needs more time in order for it to actually come alive to you. Or was it the gear? Or was it a combination of all of that together? See, that's the thing about coffee that we seldom go through from time to time, is that if we're drinking a coffee for a while and we're trying to understand it for what it is, sometimes we ride off on it too early. I know at least I do. I know that if I have a couple of coffees in my shelf, just ready for me to drink, I'm going to this coffee, that coffee, this coffee, this coffee. I'm seeing the different elements that I do like about them. But for the most part, if a coffee doesn't really gel with me, just tend to move on to something else. Something hopefully more exciting. But I'm not playing around with my gear as much as I gospel about. Sometimes you don't want to. Sometimes you just want to make a cup of coffee and it just comes out great, right? But something about the drive and the dedication that this coffee has put me through more than anything has got me to appreciate a couple of things here. One, the gear that I do have, ironically speaking. It lets me know that I do have enough, which I'm not the perfect person to judge about if I have enough gear or not. But I started to use it all. Started to play with my water chemistry a little bit more. I started to see what was on the cupboard for a very long time to see if it can express different things and qualities about the coffee. I started to realize that I had a lot of understanding about extraction, about flavor, about what I can do with this particular coffee, understanding the slow drawdown, how that affects the coffee taste and all that good stuff. Paying attention to that coffee, different grinders, different profiles, what it was doing and all that, right? Those are some of the things that, since I didn't like it as much, I started to push myself even more so down this rabbit hole of trying to figure it out. I'm glad I did. Because the other piece of this puzzle here was the actual coffee. I started to appreciate the coffee even more. I started to understand that no matter what is said on the bag, it doesn't really even matter. It's what we do to that coffee. It's how we approach that coffee. It's us just actually giving that coffee some time to talk to us. And it's interesting that my frustration with one coffee is somebody's understanding of it the same as that coffee. I was just talking to a client not too long ago. Roasted him some lightly roasted, the same coffee. Said it was fruity. It was delicious. It was understanding to him. It was pretty good to him from the get-go. It's interesting how our palates are so different and we get different things out of things with the coffee, right? The exact same coffee. But that's perfectly fine here because at the end of the day, it's our journey. It's our dedication. It's the things that we go through in order to bring the best out of the coffee. I was talking to somebody online a couple days ago, and we're talking about our routine, the way we approach coffees. And it's always interesting hearing others, their opinions and all that stuff, because even though it may seem far-fetched, even though it may seem that different, it's still more so the same. We're trying to see what we can get out of this coffee, seeing if we approach it this way, that way. See if we can agitate a little bit more or do a little bit less agitation, see what that brings out in the coffee. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. But at the end of the day, something is happening to that particular coffee to us. And when it does work, it just works. Sometimes I can just do the exact same recipe on any coffee that I do have. And it's lively and it's expressive. It's something that I do want to drink each and every time. Sometimes I have to work on it, like this Ethiopian coffee right here. This white honey. Smells so good. This is a medium to light roast. The one that I've been tackling, exploring, getting frustrated, I guess conquering to an extent, but understanding it even more so. And I think that's one of the things that we don't talk about so much. Those intermittent journeys that we do go on with the particular coffee. How we feel initially, how we feel afterwards, how we feel about the coffee as we're trying to really figure it out. It's the exact same coffee, right? But in truth, the kicker, the thing about all of this is that throughout that time, we've changed probably. That coffee has changed. We've gone through different things in our lives in the past couple of weeks. And it's pretty cool to realize that we can get close to what we think about this coffee in our own way as long as we stay with it. So like I said, I believe it was the gear. I believe it was a Melodrip coming alive, putting that rain dance on the coffee drops. Coffee drops, raindrops. I believe something about the bottom of the brewer makes a bigger deal than we give it out time to do for us, right? And then I think about the different paper filters I used. That didn't have too much of an effect on the coffee. That really didn't do too much to the coffee. I just manipulated and changed the things that I needed to in order to bring out the best that I could in that coffee, depending on the filter paper. But then again, as much as I think about it, it could have just been time. Just time for it to express itself, to come alive, to do different things in different brewers. The maturity of the coffee, and to an extent, the maturity of us, probably accepting it for what it is, but realizing that that coffee can actually do something else to us and for us. How it can change the personality if we change the things that we do. I think that's the most rewarding part about all of this, more than anything. Is this my favorite coffee? No. But something about this coffee I'm going to take with me throughout the year is that it pushed me to stay with something long enough to understand what I was trying to do and do with this coffee, even if I wasn't gelling with it. Something about that makes you feel like you can do anything. So yeah, so is this talk about gear? To an extent, yeah, it is. Probably is about the way you approach different coffees and stuff like that. The way it comes alive differently. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But it's also that maturity of that coffee. The time that it has to just kind of sit and mellow and kind of get more expressive. It's a combination of it all. I can try to isolate it. I can try to bullshit you, trying to tell you that this is what you're going to be experiencing whenever you go through this whole journey. You and I know that's not true. It goes in the direction that it does. Sometimes some coffees click a lot faster. Sometimes you just need that time to just sit with it, understand it, probably enjoy it. So yeah, let me know what you think. Do you go through that with coffee? Do you sometimes think about it not working and then eventually it does work? What is it about that particular coffee that eventually comes alive to you? Have you had those experiences to where it wasn't the best coffee, but over time, it started to be? Let's talk about it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.